Yeah, good morning. I'm back to my morning time. When I don't know if it's my best, but it's as good as it gets in the mornings for me and for many other people out there. They kind of fade as the day fades. And what came to mind today was something pretty apparent. But what prompted this was looking at beginnings and endings and realizing within the seeds of beginning, there's the seeds of, within the seeds of beginning, there's endings. And particularly poignant for me now, at this stage of my life, is that I'm so much closer to the ending than I am the beginning. And this isn't fatalistic, this is just what's so. My form, my physical form in this incarnation is approaching or is much closer to an ending than to the beginning. And I'm thankful for that every day, believe me, because it's my sincere hope that beginning in a physical form again might not be necessary, might come down to a matter of choice, and that's a choice I'll be prepared to make one day. But nevertheless, endings also have the seeds of beginnings. So what we see as an ending of this physical form, this physical expression, is wondrously so, yet that inkling of a new beginning. So there is no end and no beginning. There's beginnings and endings. Different than begin, and end. This continuous cycle. This tick-tock pendulum. I like a circle this way, becoming a circle which, as we know, becomes a spiral. But with yet another polarity. And for someone that's spent a lot of time looking at non-duality, us and them, me and you, it and that, and understanding intrinsically that there is no such thing as a duality. It's one monopole. We're all one. Everything is one. And anything else than this is an illusion. But I might be so bold to say that illusions are not without use, even after you've recognized the hollowness, the maya of entertaining such concepts. Doesn't negate their usefulness in the continuation of your expressing, your becoming, your being, the expression of oneness. And today, strangely enough, or appropriately so, has to do with yesterday. And somewhere in there, the seeds of tomorrow are there, aren't they? But what brought this all to mind was yesterday sharing with you visions. And upon listening, I really laughed because here I'm creating. My vision is a creation of a place to practice Zen with a smile. And I constructed I gave you the physical layout in quite a lot of detail about my vision for this center. And I used to call it my center. And now it's just become the center. The my part of the equation has become less and less important. And this was obvious when I realized that I had forgotten the obvious. And I'll get into what I had forgotten when I was talking about my vision. But first I want to talk about what an eye-opener it was when I realized that I had forgotten something very obvious. Where was the meditation to take place? Where was the meditation hall within my center? Meditation started out as the central element of the center, of my center. And surprisingly or not, my meditation center, my meditation hall, included me in front of a group, me sharing, me sitting amongst, but it was this hierarchy somehow of me in front of a group. Now, I wasn't so grandiose as to picture myself sitting on an elevated platform so that I looked down on everyone. Somehow, I wanted to look eye to eye. This was part of my construct. But why then, if this was the primary element for me in my center, why did I forget the obvious? Why did I overlook? I didn't forget it. Why did I overlook? And it's funny, I'm talking about overlooking when I'm talking about where I would sit in my meditation hall, eye level. So either we're all on the ground or we're all elevated. Well, my days of sitting on the ground, meditation mat, pillows, it matters not, are behind me. I meditate. I'm looking at my I sit in a chair to meditate. The ground has just become too far down to get there comfortably. And then, once I'm there, I might as well stay, because getting up again is a perilous journey, especially if I attempt to sit in a half lotus, that gracefully put the full lotus behind me with the Raja Yoga, with the intense discipline, with the... Because it never was a comfortable position for me. It was always forced, but I thought it was effort needed to go. It was part of the effort necessary for this Raja Yoga. This yoga of taming the mind with the goal of silencing it completely so that clarity could be mine, was only available through rigorous self-discipline. Meditation was like going to war. You had to be sweating. Now my only sweat comes from the heat of the day, comes from the stillness of my meditation room, comes from closing the windows and the blinds and turning on the overhead light. Thankfully, I've put any spotlight that I used to use to highlight my features on hold. But here we are. We're talking about overlooking the obvious. It's different, isn't it, than forgetting the obvious. Overlooking. And why? Overlooking implies that you're gazing on everything. Looking over. Overlooking. It's not ignoring. It's about relegating the importance of what you see. And what you see becomes what you say. And you couple seeing, thinking, and feeling. And that's more an honest assessment of the words that come out of our mouths. But mindful living will, if not eliminate, will tone down this tendency. And my words come from my heart most of the time. But this relegating to levels of importance, when it's applied to this overlooking, that was included in yesterday's vision. How could the primary reason, which was to create a meditation center with me as the focal point, a place that I could grace others with any wisdom that I had claimed to have accumulated. And in this very... Can you hear the ego? I certainly can. I am. Not I will be, or I could be. or I should be. I am. Now, within that, I become centered. But I laugh because I overlooked any egoic motivation in the healing center. No, the my is my healing center. That was first to go. Any concept of my. It's intended to be our. If you look at me in these pictures, that was intended to be my working clothes. The clothes that I would wear while I constructed and created our meditation center, our healing center, because the healing was meant for me as well as all of you. And I saw myself as a servant. I was the one creating, doing the labor. And then somehow, I hadn't thought it through, but I was going to change my clothes into something more appropriate, more regal, signifying my position. And I was going to put my servant clothes, my construction clothes, put them aside. I'd never thought this through, but obviously if I'm going to have something as grand as a meditation hall as part of the healing center, I certainly wasn't going to wear my gardening clothes to come into the meditation hall. This would be disrespectful, but most importantly, not in keeping in the illusion of being a teacher, because that's all there was, that's all it is. It's illusory, and it's egoic to think that I had anything of any value to share with anyone else. What I can share, if it has value, is my experiences and stressing the ordinariness of me and my experiences and the availability of becoming what we've always known ourselves to be. I've said before that a teacher is only useful to point the way, that his words are her words. If they offer comfort, great. But always question. Always come up with your own, because this journey is yours alone. No one can touch your forehead and you awaken to what you've always been and always known yourself to be. And when I was sharing with all of you about my visions and this physical plan, this organic whole, this wheel of expansion, starting in the center and growing concentrically outwards, just as when you throw a pebble into still water and the circles emanate from the point of entry. So too was my physical plan of our healing center, of our meditation center to grow. Yet, I overlooked the obvious. The obvious in this case being me and my role in our center. I guess I saw myself as some kind of leader. And what I realized, by completely omitting, by forgetting what had been the obvious, I started to realize that my role was to be a servant. My role was to work and create our center. And my humble gardening clothes were not to be put aside, to be replaced with grander expressions of any rank. I've always been against wearing uniforms. I wear this bracelet with purple beads and one white, and this necklace with white beads and one purple, to remember that we're all, myself included, one amongst the many. But it's united. It's joined together, just as we are joined together by the ultimate, the only reality, the universal love and light that we see manifested. We see sparks in each of us, and we see that everything that is real is part of this force, part of this light, part of this being. So, forgetting the obvious, the lessons that lie within this, at least in my case this time, were really valuable, really, really important. So, where will meditation take place? In our center. Well, I thought about communal things. Communal things. Bathing has traditionally been a communal thing, something that we did together, clean up. And then I wanted to take it one step farther than simply cleaning up. I wanted us to soak, to luxuriate in the peacefulness that being immersed in water brings. It's about cleanliness. Cleanliness is next to godliness, after all. But it's about immersion. It's about sitting, about relaxing, about experiencing. And this is should be a communal experience. Well, social niceties means that we need to separate facilities for men and women, while also including a place for families. So this is communal. this cleansing. And remember, we started with a pond with some carefully placed rocks that were conducive to sitting on, that were shaped to fit our bodies comfortably. So that originally my idea was I like to have my feet in the water while I'm meditating. And music is already, speakers have to be carefully concealed so that it looks like, or it seems like the music is just coming from the environment. So this cleaning is communal. And the next thing was a place to rest, also communal. And after resting, the next circle was about another communal activity, eating. And now comes when I overlook the obvious. As you leave the eating, you come into the meditation, which is, again, circular. And this means that any idea of having a front and a rear, any idea of people facing me, flies in the face. You don't want to put somebody in the back of the circle when you're at the top of the circle, or vice versa. So create a equal meditation area that people can sit, hopefully after they've rested and maybe napped a little bit in the communal tatami, resting rooms. And it's here in the communal meditation room that I will be again one amongst the many. I will choose a spot to sit because I like building up energy in the spot. But I want to choose an unobtrusive spot. It won't be focused on me. There will be no teachings. There will be no teacher. There will be a humble servant who spends the majority of his time, if not all of his time, in silence. This is the significance. This is forgetting the obvious in this application. So I'm adding now a communal meditation circle on my hub. And as we leave on the individual spokes that go to individual or family accommodations for sleep, we go from communal to individual, to communal and individual families at the biggest. But sleep should be an individual activity, not a communal sleeping room, not a circle endpoints, self-contained paths along the rim of my wagon wheel, because sleep is best when done by oneself. Even marriages are better off to each have a room. And oddly enough, as we age, I think it becomes more and more common that we sleep in separate quarters. When we're sleeping, we put our guard down. We're making ourselves available to anything that is close to us, anything within our aura, including our life partners. And sleep should be a time best spent alone within your own aura, so that you could make full use of the gift of what sleeping really is. So you could know that your dreams were truly your own. So, here we are. Forgetting the obvious has purpose. As I've shared with you today, its purpose for me, as recently as the difference between yesterday and today. And it was not a mistake. It was minimizing my role in our center. My role is to be a servant, to be one amongst all of you. And within this revelation, because it feels like it was revealed to me, I could see the process of change that was taking place within me. My dream of a healing center, of a Zen healing center, has become our dream. My role in this has become as a visionary, as a simple laborer of love to help manifest, if that's what's to be. But out of this has been a humbling experience, as it should be. My role is of little or no consequences. Originally, it was centered around me, and I was blind to this until I overlooked, until I forgot to even mention a place to meditate. In addition to the meditation hall, because there's a time for group meditation and there's a time for individual meditation. And I mentioned the spokes, and the space between the spokes is really critical. Landscape to look natural. And within these spaces would be individual areas conducive to a private meditation practice after you've left the group. And there's no rules about spending time in the meditation hall. You can walk right through and head to your rooms, or head to these small individual spots that are created with you in mind for your individual pursuit. So there's, I don't want to say conclusion, because there's no end. There's endings. So this is the ending to my, for now. But even the grandest plans have the seeds of lessons needed to be learned. So take a look in your own life. Are you forgetting the obvious? And if so, look for the blessing within, because there's lessons to be learned by what we omit. Just as there's lessons to be learned from what we say or do. Thank you.